This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. So just like there has been over the course of the history of our country, there is once again a fight for the soul of our nation. We witnessed racial strife and racial conflict many times throughout. The most recent, 2015, going back through the civil rights era in the late 60s. And we're witnessing it once again. We're experiencing it once again. This time, it seems as though there is some take. Some of this, there's going to be some positive outcome from. It seems to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Once again, just like in the early 70s, the late 60s, we have a problem in the White House, an impediment to progress. Donald Trump is throwing up roadblocks left and right to any progress we might make, whether it be with inciting police departments, refusing to pass budgets, generally inciting racial conflict with his tweeting. We're witnessing that all the time. The latest occurred when Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York City, appeared on Morning Joe yesterday, and he vowed to cut the police budget, several different things. I'm going to get to that. But he also, as almost an aside, said that he was going to have Black Lives Matter painted on Fifth Avenue in front of Trump Tower for a reminder, an ever-present reminder to the President of the United States that indeed, Black lives do matter. Innocent enough. I am one who doesn't see why the phrase Black Lives Matter is such a divisive term. After all, until Black lives do matter, all lives can't matter. Those things are in opposition. Unless Black Lives Matter or Brown Lives Matter, not everybody's life matters as much. We do have equal protection under the law. We need to live by that principle. Well, when this was said on Morning Joe, Donald Trump took to Twitter, because that's what he does, and he tweeted this. New York City is cutting police dollars by $1 billion, and yet the New York City mayor is going to paint a big, expensive yellow Black Lives Matter sign on Fifth Avenue, denigrating this luxury avenue. This will further antagonize New York's finest, speaking of the police, who love New York and vividly remember the horrible Black Lives Matter chant, quote, pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon, unquote. Maybe our great police, who have been neutralized and scorned by a mayor who hates and disrespects them, won't let this symbol of hate be affixed to New York's greatest street. Spend this money fighting crime instead. So there's a number of things I want to address here. This is an explicit incitement of the New York City Police Department. He's trying to whip them into a frenzy. They're already emotionally charged as it is, as we've seen from their police union leaders. They think that they're under attack. And to a certain sense, metaphorically, they are. They are responsible for the deaths and brutalization of hundreds of thousands of black and brown individuals in the city during the reign of Mike Bloomberg. I've already talked about stop and frisk. That was them. That is New York City's finest. A couple of things, though. Donald Trump is focusing on how expensive it's going to be to paint Black Lives Matter on the street, on blacktop. Stupid. Also, why would painting a proclamation that Black Lives Matter denigrate any street? Not to mention a luxury avenue. Someone explain that to me. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then again, we won't let this symbol of hate be affixed to New York's greatest street. Black Lives Matter is in no way in any circumstance, a symbol of hate. That's like saying we hold these truths to be self-evident, that every man is created equal by his creator, that's a symbol of hate. Equality isn't hate. The only people who think equality is hatred are avowed white supremacists like David Duke and Richard Spencer, and now apparently Donald Trump, the President of the United States. He's saying it with his own mouth, his own fingers, thumbing a tweet on Twitter. So, one, again, this for certain is an attempt to incite an already hyped up police force in New York City by the President of the United States, the nation's largest police force, might I add. But I want to show you the moment that sparked it. This is the clip that took place on Morning Joe on MSNBC by Bill de Blasio. Pretty humdrum by standards. There is a policy pronouncement that he plans to cut the budget of the New York City Police Department, but he talks about where he's going to funnel that money. It's not just cut the budget and then that's it. They're going to funnel that money into resources that will be better served. So police won't have to answer certain calls that they're not trained or skilled at answering. Maybe have mental health professionals answer certain calls, not have armed agents of the state do so. Here's the clip.
So walk us through a bit this new budget, specifically as it pertains to the NYPD.
Yeah, Willie, this is really profound change, and it's a moment where we need profound change in this city, in this country. We're taking $1 billion out of the NYPD. We're reducing the size of the NYPD. We're reducing overtime. We're moving some of the functions the NYPD does now. They will be replaced by civilians handling those functions who can do them better. And we're going to take that money and put it into youth initiatives. We got to help young people, particularly in this tough moment in history. So we're taking money from the police, putting it into youth initiatives. I think that will help us be a safer city in the future, that investment in young people. And then we're taking another $500 million and creating recreation centers, community centers for young people, broadband access for young people who live in public housing. These kind of investments and then other reforms. We have to be in a constant place of reform. So we're going to get rid of solitary confinement in our jails. We're going to take this moment in history and amplify it by taking the Black Lives Matter symbolism and putting it all over this city, including right in front of Trump Tower. And then we're going to do something even bigger and have a commission on racial justice and reconciliation, patterned on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa, that will systematically, officially identify where structural and institutional racism exists in New York City government and in our city in general, and then specifically define how we will end it, how we will tear it down, how we will transform, and put real resources and policies in place to change it. So this is going to be a constant moment of change and reform in New York City.
I got another question on the budget, but did you say officially you're going to paint Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue in front of Trump Tower? Is that happening?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And it's an important message to the whole nation. And obviously, we want the president to hear it because he's never shown respect for those three words. When he hears Black Lives Matter, he presents a horrible negative reality of something that doesn't exist, and he misses the underlying meaning that we're saying we have to honor the role of African Americans in our history and in our society, very much what you were talking about a few moments ago. And we have to make it come alive today. So we're going to make it really clear to the president. It's going to be right outside his doorstep.
So here's an aerial map of where they want to paint this. First of all, I think it's a great start. I haven't looked at the fine print of what de Blasio is promoting there or proposing, but certainly it's a good start. And there is a process by which they will appropriate and deappropriate those funds, and that'll be meted out. Here's the maps of where they plan to do this. Here's a farther out view, zooming in a little closer and closer to Fifth Avenue in New York City, which runs right next to Trump Tower. I don't see why having Black Lives Matter in bold yellow is such a bad thing. Seems like it'll be an ever-present reminder to New Yorkers all over, as well as to Donald Trump. The thing that really strikes me is that, of course, Black Lives Matter, the phrase, the notion, the concept, offends Donald Trump. Late Tuesday night, he, of course, tweeted, he announced that he is threatening to veto an appropriations bill for the Department of Defense, a defense budget of about $740 billion. He's willing to not fund the military, our great military that he always likes to talk about, the same great military I served in the United States Marine Corps. He's threatening to defund the military if indeed the bipartisan effort to rename bases that are named after Confederate traitors goes through. He tweeted this: I will veto the defense authorization bill if the Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, of all people, amendment, which will lead to the renaming plus other bad things of Fort Bragg, Fort Robert E. Lee, and many other military bases from which we won 2 world wars, is in the bill. So he uses racism, explicit racism against Elizabeth Warren, to announce that his racist feelings are hurt if we change the names of United States military bases from the names of Confederate, coward, traitor names. I've already done a video on this. You should watch it if you want to know the history of those 10 bases and who the men that they're named after, what they're about. These slave-owning traitors, these treasonous cowards. I've gotten a lot of pushback calling them cowards. Well, they were probably brave. They just stood for the wrong thing. It's not necessarily physical cowardice that I'm talking about. If you stood for slavery, if you went to war and you killed over 400,000 of your countrymen, Americans, real Americans, not Confederate Americans. Over 400,000 Americans were killed in the Civil War at the hands of Southern traitors. If you did that for the sake of owning human beings, you're a moral coward. It has nothing to do with physical cowardice. You're a moral coward. A coward is a coward, whether it be physical or moral. So, this isn't the only thing that Donald Trump is representing his disdain and offense at Black Lives Matter. He's more protective over traitors who betrayed their country and killed their countrymen over owning humans than he is of his own nation today. Think about that. Donald Trump cozies up to our enemies who put bounties on our American soldiers in harm's way in Afghanistan. He cozies up to enemies, choosing them over America and its interest. We've witnessed Donald Trump tweet videos of his supporters screaming white power. That's a first for a president of the United States. He called Nazis in Charlottesville very fine people. Nazis, very fine people. He perpetrated the birtherism hoax that Barack Obama wasn't born in America, that the first black president was born somewhere else, that he was an illegitimate president. His racist campaign against the Central Park Five, and it goes on and on and on and on. All of the examples of vile racism coming from this man. Of course, Black Lives Matter is offensive to him. But Black Lives Matter, despite what Donald Trump says, is not a symbol of hate. These are symbols of hate. Symbols revered and worshipped by Donald Trump devotees. Confederate flags. Some adorned with Donald Trump's name and even his face. These are symbols of hate. Ku Klux Klan regalia worn by hateful bigots, flying their banners of domestic terrorism, all next to those same Confederate flags. These are symbols of hate. Nazi symbolism, swastikas, carried alongside of, no coincidence, carried alongside of those very same Confederate flags. And of course, our latest recognizable symbol of hate, the MAGA hat. Some worn with the Confederate flag, and some worn accompanied by those same Nazi symbols of hate, the swastika. And absolutely worn by their new Lord, their new Savior, their hero, their new Führer, Donald Trump. Look, I'll finish this like I started it. Absolutely, Black Lives Matter. And all lives cannot and will not matter until Black lives do. I would love to know what you think. 714-576-4054, daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me today. And as often as you do, if you are in a financial position to do so, and you would like to support my work, if I provide value enough to you that you're willing to give up a couple bucks a month, click the join button below the video. I'd love to have you on board, partnering with me to spread the message of progressivism and in stark opposition. We are in a battle for the soul of America. Help me win it. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.